Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. We're going to start off the new year with a bang, a 510mm bang, because this is the Shikishima, and the Shikishima's claim to fame is that it's a Yamato, except it's armed with 510mm guns. Yes, 20-inch guns. Driving the Shikishima for us today is, and with a name like this I sincerely hope he's Dutch, Master Clogwalker. That's a great name. Oh, and by the way, before we get started, before everybody jumps all over their keyboards to say, well, actually, Jingles, ships don't have drivers, they have helmsmen. Yes, I know. But referring to the helmsman as the driver, or more specifically, whichever officer of the watch was in charge of the helmsman on the bridge at any specific time of the day, calling them the driver is just a long-standing tradition in the Royal Navy. You can take the boy out of the Navy, but you can't take the Navy out of the boy. We also used to call the ship's helicopter pilot the driver, and we would make a point of giving him a thumbs up and saying cheers drives every time we disembarked from the helicopter. Why? Because it's funny. And it winds them up. It's the same reason we call chefs cabbage mechanics. So, yeah. Clogwalker is the current driver of this particular monster of a battleship. Now, if you're looking at this ship, the Shikishima, and thinking, that looks a lot like a Yamato, you're absolutely correct, because that's exactly what it is. Wargaming really spared no expense on putting this thing into the game. It's the Yamato model, except with 510mm guns. That's it. It's exactly the same as a Yamato. It just has bigger guns. So what's the point of that? Well, in my opinion, and your mileage may vary of course, not a lot. What exactly is the point? What benefit do you have by having the Shikishima's 510mm guns compared to the Yamato's 460mm guns? Well, she does have higher alpha damage. Not that much higher, but, well, we're talking about the Yamato's 18-inch guns as a base starting point, so a single shot from one of these guns has the potential on a Citadel hit to do nearly 20,000 damage. That's not insignificant. The problem is that the Shikishima only has 6 of these 510mm guns. And this lack of gun barrels is one of the main reasons why I really don't like ships like the Gneisenau down at tier 7. Although it is only one of the reasons why I don't like the Gneisenau. The lack of gun barrels, coupled with atrociously bad accuracy, is the reason why I don't like the Gneisenau. Thankfully, the Shikishima, while it does have a lack of gun barrels, it doesn't have atrociously bad accuracy. It is based on the Yamato after all, and the Yamato is well known for being one of the most accurate battleships in the game. It's also one of the most accurate battleships in the game with 3 more guns than something like the Gneisenau's 6 15-inch guns. Gneisenau captains will all too well know the pain of closing into close range, lining up the perfect broadside Citadel shot with those 6 15-inch guns, pulling the trigger, and watching shots from the same turret land 300 metres apart, nowhere near the target, and then having to wait until you can miss every shot that you fire again. You don't really get that with the Shikishima. The guns are pretty accurate. If you miss, it's usually your fault. Usually. Not always. Because you only have 6 guns. So, you know, they do say that quantity has a quality all of its own. I mean, you look at something like the Tier 5 Agincourt that has 14 guns, none of which could hit the inside of the barn from the inside. Sometimes you can take it slightly too far in the other direction. But the Agincourt is fun because its secondaries are hilarious. The Shikishima's secondaries, well, I wouldn't recommend building for secondaries on this thing, but it does get those Japanese 100mm rapid firing guns with improved high explosive penetration. But this ship, just like the Yamato, is not a brawler. It doesn't have the armour for it, it's got a large exposed citadel, huge superstructure that just loves to catch cruiser and destroyer high explosive shells. You really do need to be playing this ship at a comfortable distance from the enemy. If your secondaries are firing, you're probably a little too close. And of course, just like the Yamato, it's got that infamous Yamato cheek armour shot trap just underneath the front turret, Any shot impacting that on a flat trajectory, i.e. at close range, regardless of how well you're trying to angle against armour piercing, is probably going to cause you all kinds of citadel hit problems. So you need to keep a respectable distance in the Shikishima. That doesn't mean you have to surf the map border, but you definitely don't want to be closing to brawling range, not if you can possibly avoid it. I actually had the opportunity of getting the Shikishima over Christmas. I should probably talk about how you actually get the Shikishima. You don't grind it. Well, you don't grind it for experience. There is a grind involved. You don't buy it, it's not a premium ship in that respect. But you do have to earn steel. This is a steel ship. You buy it in the armory for steel. Now, there are other ways of earning steel, but mostly it's through playing ranked battles. And I don't play ranked battles, so I only have one steel ship, the USS Black. However, over the Christmas and New Year period, you were able to earn steel by knocking the snowflakes off your tier 9 and possibly tier 8 as well ships. I can't remember the specific details. And you would do that by either winning your first battle in the ship once the event had started, or if you didn't win the battle the first time, you earned at least 300 base experience in any given tier 9 and possibly tier 8 ship. Again, I can't remember the specific details. Now, doing that, in combination with all of the steel that I'd earned the previous Christmas and New Year, yes, it did take me a year to accumulate the required amount of steel because I don't play ranked battles, but that left me with a choice. Should I spend the steel on the Shikishima, or for the same amount of steel, should I get the Stalingrad? Because I'm not stupid, I got the Stalingrad. And the reason I got the Stalingrad and not the Shikishima, well, actually there are a couple of reasons. One, the Stalingrad is amazing. It's improved penetration angles and its armour-piercing shells are just, well, quite frankly overpowered. Plus, the fact that while the Shikishima does have, for the moment at least, the biggest guns in the game, it does just only have 6 of them. So just like with other battleships that only have 6 guns, regardless of how good those guns are, you're throwing significantly less shit at the wall, so there's less chance that some of it's going to stick. Plus, the ship does have poor damage per minute, because you're only firing 6 shells at any given time. Also, while these armour-piercing shells do have excellent penetration, which makes staring at the gun barrels of a Shikishima one of the most frightening things that can happen to you in World of Warships if you're in Battleship, and Clog Walker finally gets his first kill, about time. That excessively high penetration can be very counterproductive when you're firing at cruisers, as the shots just tend to over-penetrate. And it doesn't have the damage per minute with high explosive shells to be competitive in a straight-up one-on-one duel against a cruiser. But the biggest reason I chose the Stalingrad over the Shikishima is because of those 510mm guns. They are what this ship is all about. Carving great big chunks out of enemy battleships with these 20-inch guns is pretty much exactly what the Shikishima is all about. In all other respects, you're sailing a Yamato. And the main attraction of sailing a battleship with really big guns is the amount of armour that your armour-piercing shells can overmatch, or in other words, treat as if it wasn't even there in the first place. So for example, if you're sailing a tier 8, 9 or 10 battleship with 32mm of bow plating, and you're facing something armed with 16-inch guns like the USS Montana, or something that doesn't quite have the 18 inches that the Yamato has, like for example the Thunderer, you can angle your bows against their armour-piercing shells, and there's a very good chance that the shots are going to ricochet. If you're facing something like the Shikishima or the Yamato that can overmatch that 32mm of bow plating, no ricochet roll is taken into consideration. It doesn't matter how much you angle your bow armour. As far as sufficiently large armour-piercing shells are concerned, like the Yamato or the Musashi's 18-inch or the Shikishima's 20-inch, no ricochet roll is made because no armour penetration roll is made. As far as those shells are concerned, 32mm of armour doesn't exist. It just goes right through. But you can already do that in the Yamato with its 18-inch guns. Hell, you can do that in the Tier 9 Musashi with its 18-inch guns. And those ships get 3 more guns. 3 guns per turret. So you're throwing more shit at the wall, there's more chance that some of that shit is going to stick. So what does the extra 2 inches of gun caliber in the Shikishima bring to the party? Well, the Shikishima's armor-piercing shells can overmatch 35mm of armor. How does that help? Well, I said that most Tier 8, 9 and 10 battleships have 32mm of bow plating. Technically that's not true. All Tier 8, 9 and 10 battleships have 32mm of bow plating, but some of them have what's known as an icebreaker bow, which basically means that there are strips along the bow, in some cases covering almost all of the bow, that have increased armour beyond 32mm. But here's the thing. In every case where a battleship has an icebreaker bow, it's way more than 35mm. It's often 50 or 60mm. So having bigger guns doesn't help. The Yamato and the Musashi have more guns than the Shikishima. They are lower caliber, but they can still overmatch 32mm of bow plating, and cannot overmatch 50 or 60mm of icebreaker. The Shikishima has 3 guns less, and can overmatch 32mm of bow plating, but still cannot overmatch 50 or 60mm of icebreaker. So what's the point? You're trading off 3 guns worth of firepower and DPM for the sake of 3mm better overmatch that doesn't really appear to be of any use. Well, that's not strictly true. It's not completely useless to have 35 as opposed to 32mm of overmatch. It's just highly situational. And by that I mean the Shikishima can overmatch the deck plating of the Tier 9 Russian cruiser the Riga and the Tier 6 Japanese battleship the Fuso. And only one of those is ever going to end up in the Shikishima's matchmaking unless somebody gets into a failed division. So once again, I'm asking myself the question, what's the point? Why would I spend gold? Ooh, nice shot. Well, to be fair, the enemy battleship wasn't exactly making it difficult. But yes, once again, I'm asking myself the question, why on earth would I spend hard-earned steel on the Shikishima when I could get the Stalingrad instead? And in fact, I did get the Stalingrad instead. Because to me, and of course your mileage may vary, the Shikishima's 20-inch guns are more of a novelty than something that actually makes a practical difference to the way you would play a Yamato. And I already have a Yamato. In fact, I have 2. I have the ARP Yamato as well. So, for me it was an easy decision. Might not be such an easy decision for you, of course, assuming you have the steel required for the purchase in the first place. But assuming that you do, I mean, the Shikishima is not a bad ship. It's a Yamato. It has Yamato accuracy, and it has higher per shot alpha damage. But the extra 3mm of overmatch is almost completely irrelevant. Not completely, but almost completely. And that being the case, just get a Yamato. Of course, there are other factors that people take into consideration when it comes to deciding what to spend all of their steel on. You might not have a Stalingrad, but you might not like playing cruisers. You might be a battleship main, in which case, get the Bourgogne. But if you've already got the Bourgogne, and you're determined to spend your steel on a battleship, the Shikishima is by no means a bad choice. You know, if you've already got the Yamato and the ARP Yamato and the Musashi and you want to round off your Yamato collection, then yeah, sure. It's not a bad ship. You probably won't regret it. It's just not really for me. And it probably won't be for quite some time, because it did take me 2 Christmases to save up the steel required for my Stalingrad. And the next time I've saved up an equivalent amount of steel, I'll probably be getting the Bourgogne. Or, you never know, whatever else is available for steel a year down the line from now. I'm just not a fan of battleships that only have 6 guns. Although, having said that, I'm a big fan of HMS Repulse, the Tier 6, which also only has 6 guns. Oh, good shot, sir. Over 200,000 damage done. Oh, wow, he's the last one left alive. I should probably start actually paying attention to what's going on in the battle rather than going on about, oh well, I think there's going to be 1 less enemy ship. Yeah. Oh, and there goes the free heal from having from having Yamamoto Isoroku as the captain and scoring the Kraken Unleashed. Is this going to be another kill? It really kind of needs to be. Oh! Yeah. He's going to eat one Hindenburg torpedo. No flood, but it did disable his engine. And he was on fire as well, so he's used the damage control. So, yeah, that was 6 against 1. It's now 3 against 1. You know, I might like this ship after all. So, he's still radar, but that could be either the Des Moines or the Talon. Speaking of which, there's the Talon. I think he's too far... Oh, there's a Des Moines around the corner. Yep, there he is. Right, now, if this Des Moines has any sense, he's going to go for the ram. He doesn't have any sense. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, the Des Moines would have died from the ram, but it would have killed Clogwalker, and he would have still had 2 friendly ships left alive. It would have been a win, but no, he avoided the ram, and, well, yeah. So much for that idea. That Talon has to be feeling pretty nervous. Well, oh, okay, perhaps not anymore. And as quickly as that, it's 1 against 1. How long ago was it when it was 6 against 1? It couldn't have been more than 2 minutes. Man, that is brutal. Of course, now he has a problem. Even though he's flipping this central cap, it's a battleship against a destroyer. It's the Kagero. It may just be tier 8, but, well, the torpedoes make note. There they come. So we know he's down there somewhere. And, well, the Kagero's ahead on points. There's only 3 minutes of the game remaining. He can easily just lead Clogwalker on the runaround. He doesn't need to sink him. I mean, sinking him would be nice, but he doesn't need to do it to win. He just has to stay outside of detection range, which should be easy because he's in a destroyer. Oh, check this out. This is genius. Watch. See the anti-aircraft fire? Yep. Because the depth charge strike planes can't hurt the destroyer, but Clogwalker knew that the Kagero was down there because he's detected. So the Kagero must be looking right at him. And the Kagero, instead of running away... Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I'll tell you what, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in the enemy team's battle chat in the last 30 seconds of that battle. Kagero, what are you doing? No, turn around. Get away from... Oh, too late. Well, anyway, yeah, there you go. Master Clogwalker in the Shikishima. Or is it Shikishima? You know what? I don't know. 266,000 damage, 9 kills. Yeah, this, like I said, this isn't a bad ship. It's just not my cup of tea. Your mileage, of course, may vary. Master Clogwalker, well done. Thank you for sending the replay in. Everyone else, I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.